quickly play this bit of audio. This is Chris Billam-Smith after the fight, speaking about his performance and what next. He mentions Jai Opetaia as the biggest fight in the division.
Yeah, amazing. It's a phenomenal feeling. It's weird that it feels like I knew I'd feel like this, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like the Lawrence fight where it felt like a dream that had been achieved, but I just knew that I could do, and so proud I did it.
Listen, the dream was achieved when you boxed Lawrence Okoli at the Vitality Stadium, a childhood dream of yours to, that become a reality. Then you said you wanted to go on the road, you wanted to box in other stadiums, and you've done that as well. You've achieved that. Another tick off the box.
Yeah, mental. I just said it there. 2 football stadiums. If you told me that 10 years ago, I would have thought you're mental. In 2 Premier League football stadiums, 2 world title fights, 2 big domestic fights, 2 big rivals. All respect is there. They're not rivals in that sense, just in career terms and professional terms. I would have thought you're mental. So it's amazing.
Chris, listen, you've done it the hard way, mate. You've gone right from area titles, British, Commonwealth, European, world titles. You've done the football stadiums. What next for you? Now it's got to be unifications. Jai Opetaia is obviously the guy that everyone's talking about. Surely you deserve that now.
Yeah, Opetaia or Zerda Ramirez, Shane said it there. It'd be great if me and Opetaia could. That's the biggest fight in the division. It'd be great if we could do it for Undisputed. Obviously, it's not always works like that, but I've dreamt enough in my career, and they keep coming true. So if I can get Zerdo, and that's not an easy fight, but I believe I can get through him, and he can get WBC, then we could do it for a unification. So Zerdo then Jai would be phenomenal.
CBS, they obviously look very, very happy, nicknamed the gentleman, and he is that in and around the sport, before the fights, after the fights. And very quickly, before we go back on that audio and talk about Jai Opetaia, because obviously that is the biggest fight in the division now. You mentioned Shane McGuigan there, and I think he does need to get his plaudits. I think a lot of fighters now jump to trainers and expect miracles after 1 or 2 fights. It's just not going to happen. You need to have long-standing relationships with trainers to get the best out of the trainer and the best out of the fighter. And Chris Billam-Smith has been with Shane McGuigan for so long, and we're seeing the fruits of that. And sometimes I feel like trainers get a lot of stick when a fighter loses, and the trainer's probably, I've only had 2 sessions with him. Give me time. And you can see what a long-standing relationship can do for fighter and trainer.
Trust.
Yeah.
Huge trust between them. Trust in game plan, trust in pattern of fight, trust in the belief that they know they have the ability to do it, trust as friends, trust as mentor, trust as father figure, trust as family almost, And Billam-Smith doesn't give a lot away. Weirdly, just to add to where I was in the week, I'd forgotten to tell you, I went down to Bournemouth for 2 days to do Eventful Lives, it's called, a podcast with a guy called Dodge Woodall. And I went on to his podcast to talk about life in boxing and life in the fight world. And I was down in Bournemouth. And while it was raining in the rest of the UK, this was Monday and Tuesday, it was about 22 degrees down there. And I was near the Vitality Stadium. I was near the arena that Chris had fought and won against Mateusz Masternak. And I was thinking, is he being fed to the wolves at Crystal Palace? Is he being fed to the wolves at Selhurst Park? And obviously, it would have been amazing for him to fight at home. But I think Chris Billam-Smith and Shane McGuigan are very clever at going away to fight. They're very good at backs against the wall. They're very good at feeding off being the underdogs. And I think he fed off that in the week, because I think Shane McGuigan planted in his head, you're the champion, but just act like the underdog let everybody say you're the underdog. Go and shock them. He had done it against Lawrence Okoli in Bournemouth, and that's what I was thinking about when I was there. That look what he did there that night, upset Lawrence Okoli, who's now a world bridgerweight champion. But he didn't need to be at home to do it. He didn't need home advantage. They came there for him anyway as well, didn't they? So
a few thousand turned up.
That's what I like now. He's developed a following. Mentally, he is incredibly strong, Chris Billam-Smith. And he doesn't always show it in the build-up because he is a quiet man.
Yeah. Jai Opetaia, obviously, the probably the best in the division. I say probably because his last performance against Bradis maybe have made people pull back from saying he is 100% number one It is the biggest fight, though. Zurdo's obviously out there as well, the other big name that's got a belt. I think he's a free agent at the moment. How big is a fight between Billam-Smith and Zurdo? Because you mentioned Billam-Smith now got the following. I mean, does that fill out the O2 Arena, for example? I mean, are we talking that's a jam-packed O2 Opetaia versus Chris Billam-Smith? Has he got that much of a following?
Yeah, I think it's
like, do we need to build it a bit more, or can they just go now with it?
The trouble is, Gilberto Ramirez is not a huge name in the UK.
No, at all.
But we know Zurdo. I mean, I know him from his super middleweight days. I think he was super middleweight at one point.
He was super middleweight champion, beat Arthur
Yeah,
Abraham for the belt.
I remember spending time with him in Vegas, and I used to think then, God, he's an enormous super middleweight, you know, and he's a very mellifluous character. He's a really nice guy to be around, Zurdo, and he fights, and he's a warrior. I think it's a style that suits Chris Billam-Smith. Again, he's going to have to work really hard against Zurdo. Yeah. If Ben Shalom wants to bring a champion here, I think it would be amazing. I think if I were Chris Billam-Smith, I'd want Jai Opetaia, really.
You would want Opetaia?
Oh, I think he'd want to prove himself against him. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. But again, at the moment, Jai Opetaia is on that Matchroom Queensbury Cellar Gold Star. His Excellency Tugger. He's going to be fighting on all the Saudi Arabian backed cards at the moment. There's no doubt about it. He's a big star. He had like you say, had a big learning fight the other night when we were there in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, against Maris Bradis. He just ran out of steam late in the fight. Look, and also, Bradis is an incredible fighter, a very, very tough man, a very proud man who's coming to the very close of his career and wanted to prove something in that fight against Jai Addy. And Jai just ran out of steam. And he'd had an injury. He's not unbeatable, as Bradis proved. He's not unbeatable. And Billam-Smith may just have that workman's... You think about what Bradis is. Think about what Chris Billam-Smith is.
They are quite similar.
They're quite
their
similar.
Approach, yeah, quite similar. I like the fight. I like it. I think Opetaia gets it done. But again, I've picked against Billam-Smith twice. So I'm not sure I want to pick it against him a third time.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So I don't.
But I would pick against him against Jai Opetaia.
So would I. But
I'm happy to be proved wrong again.
Yeah. And I certainly wouldn't put any money down. I'll tell you that now.
It's not what your heart's saying. It's what your head's saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes your head is wrong. And he, like I said at the very beginning, he's the gift that keeps on giving, because I mean this in a really respectful way. I was working with Anthony Croller at the weekend as well on comms, and Anthony achieved as he got older. All right, he didn't have a great night against Vasyl Lomachenko that I was at as well, but you look at his resume, when he was 28, 29, you never thought he would go to world level and fight at world level. And Ricky Burns and all these other guys, Darlis Perez, Isma Barroso, blah, blah, blah. Chris is similar. The older he gets,
he's almost overachieving.
I didn't want to use the word overachieving.
No, you can. There's some fighters that, and I think it's good. There's some fighters that have overachieved. Croller was one. We didn't expect it. To an extent, I didn't expect anything from Tony Bellew. I can say that because we're good mates now. And I think Chris Billam-Smith's fallen into this as well. And I think it's good. I think they're overachieving. I'd rather that than you underachieve and look back at your career and think I wasted.
Yeah, I say overachieving in the sense that it's absolute credit to them.
Yes,
in terms of
they are ticking every single box.
Absolutely,
they are.
Absolutely.
Very quickly, also on the card was a European cruiserweight title fight between Isaac Chamberlain and Jack Massey. Jack Massey winning that one on points. It looked like it was going to be Isaac's night, and then it switched again to Massey. Good win for him. Fight fans might remember he was the fight that Joseph Parker took. Yeah, on Joseph Parker's comeback. So Massey, clearly a talented kid, very big for the cruiserweight division as well.